Have you fallen into an open manhole recently? Do you find yourself in the company of strangers? Well, then you might very well be in the feature underground. For all the good it's done me, my name is Hunter Lanier. If you're listening to this now, you made it through yet another year on the pale blue dot without getting hit by a bus, slipping in the shower, or just succumbing to the degradation of time. Life has yet to trash you like a brown banana. To celebrate, I wanted to do something truly radical and unprecedented. I created a top 10 list of my favorite movies from 2024. Nothing like this has ever been attempted before. This is the only list of its kind, and will surely be imitated for years to come by rank amateurs. I don't think 2024 was as good a year for movies as 2023 was, but it was nonetheless good enough for me to have a little bit of trouble compiling this list. I had to do some killing of darlings. And I'm talking about movies like the two Guadagnino movies, Memoir of a Snail, and Megalopolis. This list is presented in alphabetical order because creating a list of favorite movies is already inane enough before you start ranking them numerically like they're featherweights. Until Sean Baker knocks out Brady Corbet with a spinning backfist, I will hold back on the rankings. Without further ado, here are my top 10 movies from 2024. Anora, written and directed by Sean Baker. Anora isn't just a great movie. It is three great movies, each with their own distinct flavor. The character of Anora is Sean Baker's most fully developed yet, as he abandons his typical non-judgmental fly-on-the-wall style of writing for a more focused perspective. And yet, there still seems to be this rare amount of character freedom in Anora, or more accurately, the powerful illusion of such. Its ending leaves you in a very different place than you feel like you're being led. It is a surprising crescendo of cumulative emotions, frustration, self-loathing, desire, and much more. The movie ends, no music on the credits, and the tonal distance traveled from the beginning of the movie is immensely felt. And that feeling is like no other feeling I experienced at the movies this year. The Beast, written and directed by Bertrand Bonello. There are few actors, male or female, working today that have that stately composure, that penetrating gaze, that nonchalant beauty, where you can easily imagine them starring in a William Wyler melodrama or matching wits with Humphrey Bogart. Léa Seydoux is one of them, and The Beast gives her ample room to prove it. It's a soft sci-fi film with a mischievous sense of humor and big ambitions in capturing the supernatural force of human emotions and the echoes or aftershocks they leave behind. The movie is funny, it's scary, it's romantic, it's stylish. It's a great example that you don't have to peel away aesthetics to make a message more palatable to the audience. You don't have to cut the audience's steak into little cubes. We are big boys and girls. We can do the work. The Brutalist, written by Brady Corbet and Mona Fastvold, directed by Brady Corbet. There was not a single moment of The Brutalist's 3.5 hour runtime when I was not fully engaged. It is a character saga with all of the nobility of Dr. Zhivago and all of the nihilism of the decade that came after. Guy Pearce wears no heavy prosthetics or makeup, yet he is unrecognizable as Martin Van Buren, giving, in my opinion, the best performance of the entire year. In my mind, Laszlo and Van Buren have already become shorthands for the tormented artist and the vampire patron. Harold Bloom said that novels cannot be placed into the canon, they must force their way in. If you ask me, the Brutalist will be picking the glass from the bathroom window out of its fist for quite some time. Coup De Chance, written and directed by Woody Allen. Woody Allen movies are my cinematic comfort food. When the credits start playing over the jazz music, my muscles relax and I go to a sort of happy place. I lament the fact that we no longer get our yearly Woody Allen movie. So when I bought the Coup De Chance Blu-ray and sat down to watch it, those opening moments felt all the more precious. Shot by the legendary cinematographer Vittorio Storaro, Coup De Chance has all of the playful elegance of late-stage Woody Allen, who remains the only screenwriter to ever be able to write upper-class sophisticates and not make them insufferable, but in fact make them incredibly charming. Lighthearted and earnest, Coup De Chance is Woody Allen's best movie since Midnight in Paris. A Different Man, written and directed by Aaron Schimberg. Back in 2019, I reviewed for Film Threat Aaron Schimberg's previous movie, Chained for Life, which also starred Adam Pearson. I described the movie thus. Schimberg clearly has something on the mind. It's the way he goes about exploring it that makes Chained for Life so hypnotic because he doesn't really explore it. He prods it, stretches it, and essentially shakes it down for everything it has. Schimberg avoids sentimentality like the plague it is. All of the feelings the movie pulls out of you are homegrown, not something you're supposed to feel, but something you can't help but feel. All of these thoughts I had 5 years ago about Aaron Schimberg's previous movie, Chained for Life, can be reapplied tenfold to his most recent movie, A Different Man, which deals largely with the same subject matter, but in a far more congruous way. Its final line is a very funny punchline to a very serious joke. Before we get into the rest of the list, I wanted to just very quickly pass the old hat into the audience. Throw in your likes, your subscribes, your comments, and any super thanks, tips you would care to throw my way. Though, of course, you have no obligation to do so. This is a grassroots operation entirely reliant on word of mouth. So if you have any family or friends unsatisfied with the current crop of mainstream film criticism and discussion, go ahead and send them down to the underground. Here I prioritize open-minded discussions and ideas rather than simple black or white verdicts. I am an enthusiast of all of film history, not merely genre films or art house films. Now, before I lose you to that Jimmy Carter retrospective YouTube is suggesting right now, let us proceed with the list. Do not expect too much from the end of the world. Written and directed by Radu Jude. It's near impossible to describe Do Not Expect Too Much from the End of the World in just a few sentences, but I will now proceed to do a very poor job. A young Romanian woman who is a production assistant that mostly just drives people around and films workplace safety videos does a lot of just that. Then in her spare time, she plays a character online which gives her the excuse to spew heinous garbage to an apparently loyal audience. When talking about Anora, I discussed character freedom. Do Not Expect Too Much from the End of the World is a great example of director freedom. There are no rules, no straight lines, no borders, no boundaries. There is maybe a 15-minute sequence that is just a slideshow of roadside crosses. And the movie ends with a 40-ish minute static shot of a family waiting to be filmed. Hell, there is even a Yui Bowl cameo. As the film spends some time satirizing the 10-second video, TikTok, always online content culture, these long sequences come across as a comical rebuttal. It's the sort of movie that holds you by the ankles, in that you find yourself not being able to look away, but you never really notice being grabbed in the first place. Drive Away Dolls, written by Ethan Coen and Trisha Cook, directed by Ethan Coen. I am fairly confident in saying that Drive Away Dolls will one day gain a place as a cult classic. Margaret Qualley is just too good, and its Billy Wilder rockabilly approach to a road trip sex comedy is just too absurd. Maybe people who are really into raunchy sex comedies aren't into old fashioned slapstick, and maybe people who are into old fashioned slapstick aren't into raunchy sex comedies. But for those of us who don't mind the different parts of our plate touching, Drive Away Dolls is 80 minutes of unpretentious fun. Furiosa, written by George Miller and Nico Lathoris, directed by George Miller. Though not able to reach the heights of Mad Max Fury Road, Furiosa gets close enough to carve out its own little place in the pantheon of genre films. It has the most memorable action set pieces of the year. Yes, I'm including Dune Part 2. And Chris Hemsworth gets to play arguably the best role he'll ever get to play in the amazingly named Dementis. No one films action theater like George Miller, with his particular brand of revved up reality and carnival chaos. But even with all the pulsing excitement, there is something deliberate and meditated and careful about George Miller's style, and I think that might be the secret ingredient. What's more, Furiosa adds something new to the mix with its deeper plot and its classical sense of justice. Hundreds of Beavers, written by Mike Chesnick and Ryland Brixton Cole Tews, directed by Mike Chesnick. A true indie film, Hundreds of Beavers is entirely unique and made with a fraction of the budget that most of the films on this list had access to. It is a silent comedy in the vein of Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Harold Lloyd, but with a slight 21st century perspective. And it is more than just an homage to these silent comedy classics. It is a very good one in its own right. As with the aforementioned talents, you immediately find yourself rooting for the film's hapless hero as he attempts to woo the daughter of an ornery shopkeeper. Its special effects aren't, of course, state of the art, but their cut and paste charm fits in snugly with the underdog story. I was worried going into this movie that it would be over 2 hours of the same gimmick, but it throws new ideas at you faster than you can catch them. The Substance, written and directed by Coralie Farzé. You can't help but admire a movie that is giddy to disgust so much of its potential ticket-buying audience. Much like George Miller's approach to action, Coralie Farzé delivers horror to us through this funhouse mirror lens that somehow both exaggerates and clarifies. Let no one ever claim that Farzé is a subtle filmmaker, but there is a place that goes even farther beyond preachiness and finger pointing, which is where Farzé operates. It's an extreme beyond the extremes, where anything goes and all are welcome. The star on the Walk of Fame, the three eyes, the sloppy shrimp, the corny workout videos, the King Kong scene where a broken fire hydrant of blood spews all over an audience of social climbers. With all of these immensely memorable and outrageous scenes, The Substance brings a certain kind of feral energy to the modern movie scene that I think it is in dire need of. Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley are, of course, fantastic, but let us not forget Dennis Quaid's performance in this movie, which is among the most memorable supporting performances all year long. Well, there you have it. Those are my 10 favorite movies from 2024. Surprised? Disappointed? Grateful? Alarmed? Let it be known in the comments below. While you're down there, go ahead and leave me your 10 favorite movies that came out in 2024. And you can even let me know some of the movies you're most looking forward to in 2025. While I have your attention, I thought it might be fun to give you some of my other favorite things from this year. The best album I listened to for the first time this year was Look Inside the Asylum Choir by Asylum Choir. The best book I read for the first time this year was Ron Chernow's George Washington biography. The best TV show from 2024 that I watched was The Curse. Yes, it started in 2023, but it wrapped up in 2024, so I'm going to say it counts. The best video game from 2024 was Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. The best sports moment from 2024 was Max Holloway's last-second knockout of Justin Gaethje at UFC 300. As much as I love movies, there was no movie that I saw this year that actually got me to jump out of my seat and shout expletives at the screen. Coming up next, I was sent early copies of Severin Films' new restoration of Russ Meyer's Vixen trilogy, so I will be reviewing those shortly. Before I go, I want to wish everyone a very happy and fruitful 2025. If I may offer a little parting wisdom, good things will happen if you make them happen. Bad things will happen all on their own, and every day underground is a good day.